Okay, in this video I'm going to cover the calculator section of the SAT math test. There are 55 questions to do, and there are 38 minutes to do them. I highly recommend that the calculator that you use during the test is a TI-84, one of these, one of the later models. You know, the one with the full color screen and graphing capabilities. Use one of those calculators. It would greatly, you know, it's much easier to take the test with a good calculator like this. Okay, let's go to question 1. It says John runs at different speeds as part of his training program. The graph shows his target heart rate at different times during his workout. On which interval is the target heart rate strictly increasing, then strictly decreasing? So strictly increasing means going up, and strictly decreasing means going down. So there's no part where it's horizontal. Okay, let's see what we have. Between 0 and 30. From 0 to 30, it went up and then it went flat. So we don't want that. 40 and 60, 40 to 60, let's see. It went up, then down. That looks pretty good. Let's take a look at C and D also. 50 to 65. 50 to 65, let me clear that out some. 50 to 65. That went down first, but we want to go up first and then down, so that's not it. 70 to 90. 70 to 90 went up and then some horizontal, but no decreasing. So that's not it either. So the answer is B. Question 2 says if y equals k times x, where k is a constant, and y is 24 when x is 6, what's the value of y when x is 5? So this is, we'll just plug it in. Y, we'll use 24 for y. 24 equals k times x, which is 6. You divide by 6, and you get k equals 4. Now that we know k equals 4, we can rewrite this expression as y equals 4x. So now we know y equals 4x, and that's going to be the case even when x is 5. So y equals 4 times 5, which is 20. Question 3, in the figure above, lines L and M are parallel, and then S and T are also parallel to each other. If the measure of angle 1 is 35 degrees, what's the measure of angle 2? So if this is 35, the thing about these parallel lines is that there are only two angle sizes. Every angle you see will either be 35 degrees or 180 minus that, so 145 degrees. Every angle in this picture. So these are the 35s. That one, that one, that one, that one, and then these. So these angles are all 35 degrees. And then these other angles, they're all, each of them is 145. So angle 2 is 145 degrees. And where do I get that from? So let me grab the calculator out. Always use a calculator because there's no advantage to doing this mentally. So 180 minus 35, and you get 145 degrees. Question 4 says if 16 plus 4x is 10 more than 14, what is the value of 8x? Okay, so 16 plus 4x, 16 plus 4x equals 10 more than 14. You could add that up right now and get 24. I'll write down 10 more than 14. 10 more than 14 looks like this. Okay, so that is 24. We can always clean this up, make this easier to work with. 24. You minus 16 on both sides, you get 4x equals 8. And now you could divide by 4 to get x. Sure, but we want 8x. So fast way is to just double both sides. And you would get 8x equals 16. Question 5, which of the following graphs best shows a strong negative association between D and T? So strong negative association means that the lines will fit on a negative sloping trend line if we drew a trend line. This one, if we drew a trend line, it is negative, but it doesn't capture many of the points, so it's not as strong as option D, which is even stronger. It's negative. Both A and D are negative. C is not and D is not, but so D is the strongest one, so the answer is D. Question 6. A hospital stores one type of medicine in 2 decagram containers. Based on the information above, they tell you 1 decagram is 10 grams and 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram. Based on the information above, given in the box above, how many 1 milligram doses are there in one 2 decagram container? So what we'll do is a conversion. We'll start with 1 2 decagram container. That means it contains 2 decagrams. 2 decagrams in that container. And we'll start converting out of that. So the first thing you want to convert out of is decagram. Okay, we can convert, we're trying to get to 1 milligram. We're trying to get to milligrams. That's our goal. Okay, decagram you can convert to grams using this relationship. 1 decagram is 10 grams. 1 decagram is 10 grams. So far, we've converted to grams. However, we wish to convert all the way to milligrams. Well, for that, we just keep going. And you can get grams on the bottom. It's got to be on the bottom so it cancels with the 1 on the top. And this is milligrams. I'll write mg for now. And it says 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram. So 1,000 milligrams, sorry, 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram. These will cancel. And so now we have the answer in milligrams, and this is the answer that we want. So we have to do 2 times 10 times 10,000, and then divided by 1. So we end up doing, let me grab that real quick. 2 times 10 times 1,000. So the answer is 20,000. 20,000, which is option D. Moving on to number 7. Rooftop solar panel installation in 5 cities. The number of rooftops with solar panel installations in 5 cities is shown in the graph above. If the total number of installations is 27,500, what is an appropriate label for the vertical axis of this graph? What are all these? So, if the total number is 27,500, would it make sense if these were tens? Would it make sense if this was 90? If these were tens, then this would be 90, and this would be 50, and so on. And if you add those, you'll never get to 27,500. So it's not tens. What about hundreds? 900, 900, 500, 600, and so on. You will not get to 27,000, so it's not that either. It is going to be thousands. Let's check that real quick. This would be 9,000. This is 5,000. That's already 14,000. Plus this, which makes 20,000. And if you get these two in, you get to 27,005. So the answer is thousands. Tens of thousands does not make sense because that would already put this at 90,000, which is already over what we have. So the answer is option C. Question 8 says, for what value of n is this equal to 0? Okay, so let's write that down. Absolute value, n minus 1 plus 1 equals 0. Let's subtract 1 from both sides. Minus 1, and you get absolute value n minus 1 equals negative 1. And here's where we stop. Sorry, n minus 1. Absolute value n minus 1 equals negative 1. And here's where we can stop, because the question's asking us to take the absolute value of something and end up with negative 1. However, when you take the absolute value of anything, you're always going to get 0 or greater. Absolute value will never give you a negative number. It doesn't matter what you take the absolute value of, you won't arrive at negative 1. So there's no such value that would make this equation true. Let's look at question 9 and 10. They refer to this following information: A equals 1052 plus 1.08 t. The speed of a sound wave in air depends on the air temperature. The formula above shows the relationship between A, which is the speed and in feet per second, and T, which is the air temperature in Fahrenheit. Which of the following expresses the air temperature in terms of the speed of a sound wave? So we have to rearrange this to get it in terms of T. To solve for T. I'm sorry, to solve for T. So A equals 1052 plus 1.08 t. Your first step is to subtract the 1052 from both sides. So you get A minus 1052 is equal to 1.08 t. And then since we're solving for t, we divide this side by 1.08 and this side by 1.08. Divide both sides by 1.08. These will cancel, and you would get t equals all this stuff, and all this stuff is option A. So the answer is A. And for question 10, it says that which of the following air temperatures will the speed of a sound wave be closest to 1,000 feet per second? We could use the answer for question 9 to do this one. And we had t equals A minus 1052 divided by 1.08, and all they're saying is make this 1000. So let's do that in the calculator. We would do 1000 minus 1052 divided by 1.08, and you get negative 48.148. Or we could do with the fraction 1000 minus 1052 divided by 1.08, and you get negative 48.1. They're both, I mean, it's the same. So you get roughly negative 48.1. Approximately negative 48.1. So the answer is B, which is the closest. Would be closest. So that's B. Moving on to question 11. Which of the following numbers is not a solution of the inequality this? So what we'll do is we'll subtract 3x on both sides. Minus 3x here. Minus 3x here. So you get negative 5 greater than or equal to x minus 3. And then you add 3 to both sides. And add 3 to here. And you have negative 2 is greater than or equal to x. In other words, x is less than or equal to negative 2. So anything that's negative 2 or less would be a solution. This is a solution. This is less than negative 2, so that's also a solution. This is also a solution because it's less than negative 2. We're looking for the one case where it's not a solution, and that would be this one, because this is greater than negative 2. So the answer is A. Moving on to number 12. Based on the histogram above of the following, which is closest to the average number of seeds per apple? So what we want to do is find the average, and rather than estimating it from the picture or anything, let's calculate the average. So there are 12 apples, so we're going to divide by 12 at the end. Okay. And how do we calculate the number of seeds? So this part, let's look at this first bar. It says that 2 apples have 3 seeds each. That's 2 times 3. This one is 5 seeds and 4 apples having those 5 seeds. 4 times 5. I'll just write 20. That's 4 times 5. And in fact, over here, we'll write 6. This one apple that has 6 seeds. So 6 seeds coming from there. Here we have 2 apples having 7 seeds each. 2 times 7, 14. Here we have 3 times 9. That's another 27 seeds. So the numerator is the total number of seeds. And then you divide that by 12. So let me grab the calculator real quick. And what we can do is we can make a fraction and put everything on the top. 6 plus 20 plus 6 and 14 and 27, and divide that by 12. And the answer comes out to 73 over 12. Let's just convert that to a decimal real quick. And the answer is 6.08. So 6.08 is the average. Which one is closest? 6 is closest to 6.08, so the answer is C. Moving on to number 13. A group of 10th grade students responded to a survey that asked which math course they were currently enrolled in. The survey data were broken down as shown in the table above, which of the following categories accounts for approximately 19% of all the survey respondents. Well, there are 310 survey respondents, so 19% times 310 would be 19% times 310, 58.9. 58.9. And which one's closest to that? Which one's approximately 58.9? Well, that's approximately 59, which is here. That would be the males who take geometry. Males who take geometry. So the answer is C. Now, of course, what you could do is calculate what this 59 over 310 would be. 59 over 310. And that gives you 0.1903. So 19%, you can times 100. You can see it's 19.0322 and so on percent. And that's why it's approximately 19. Approximately 19. So the answer is C. Okay, moving on to question 14. The table above lists the lengths to the nearest inch of a random sample of 21 fish. The outlier measurement of 24 inches is an error, this one. Of the mean, median, and range of these values, which will change the most if you remove this 24-inch measurement? Okay, so let's look at something called the median. Now the median right now is the middle number. You have the bottom 7 here, you have the top 7 here, and so the middle number, the exact middle number is here, 12. So right now the median is 12. If you remove this 24 and just work out the median of the rest of them, it's still 12. The median doesn't change, and typically the median doesn't change much when you remove one element. So the median, in this case, it won't change at all. So it's not the median. The mean, okay. The mean, well, you see that the total, right now the mean is this total over 21. And then the total will drop by 8 when you remove, sorry, the total will drop by 24 when you remove this 24. The total will decrease by 24. But then, to calculate the mean, you need the new total over 20. When you remove 24 from the total, the new mean is not 24 lower. It's a lot less than that lower. It won't be 24 lower than the old mean because there's a division going on and it kind of gets diluted. It kind of gets averaged out. So the new mean is not 24 lower than the old mean. It's not much lower than the old mean. But let's look at the range. So the range, at the moment, the range is, so what's the formula for range? Range is the greatest number, the maximum, subtract the minimum. Right now the range, and let's look at the new range. Maybe we can call this the old range. Range with all 21 counted. Right now the range is 24 minus 8, which is 16. If you remove this, the new range is 16 minus 8, which is 8. The range drops by a full 8. The mean will not drop by 8. The total, you're removing 24 from the total, but the mean doesn't drop by 8. The median doesn't drop at all. So the range is the one that drops the most. So the answer is C. Question 15. It says the graph above displays the total cost C in dollars of renting a boat for H hours. What does the C-intercept represent in the graph? So this 5. Okay, so that's the y-intercept of the graph. Y-intercept, C-intercept. It's what you would pay for 0 hours. So that is the initial cost. So the y-intercept or the c-intercept or the intercept of the vertical axis is always the initial cost. So the answer is A. Question 16 says, which of the following represents the relationship between H and C? So if we think in terms of slope-intercept, y equals mx plus b, the only difference now is the y coordinates are the c coordinates. So we'll use c equals, and for x we'll use h. So it's c equals mh plus b. It's just a little shift. But let me put that over here real quick, plus b. But we still have to find the intercept, the y-intercept or the c-intercept, and we still have to find the slope. Okay, so the y-intercept, or in this case the c-intercept, is 5. So this number is going to be 5. So we're going to end in a 5. There's a plus 5 here, there's a plus 5 here. It's either B or C. The real question is what is the slope? Is the slope 3/4 or 3? How do we find the slope from this graph? We have to be very careful because the slope is rise over run. So let's start with here and go to here. And you can see that the rise is 3. It goes from 5 to 8, so the rise is 3. So the slope is rise over run, where the rise is 3. But the run, let's be very, very, very careful because it looks like the run is 4, but that's not true. The run is only 1. It goes from 0 to 1. It looks like 4 on the grid, but we're not counting grid boxes. We're counting units. This is up 3, and this is right 1. It went from 0 to 1. So 1. The slope is only 3, so the answer is C. Moving on to question 17. The complete graph of the function f is shown in the xy plane above. For what value of x is the value of f of x at its minimum? So we need the lowest point on the graph, the point with the least y-coordinate. That's over here. And they're asking us for the x-coordinate of this point. The x-coordinate of that point that I picked out. This point here. The x-coordinate is -1, -2, -3. The x-coordinate is -3, so the answer is B. 18 says, in the xy plane, if 0, 0, the origin, is a solution to the system of inequalities above, which of the following relationships between A and B must be true? Has to be true. Okay. 0, 0 is a solution, so you can plug in 0 for x and 0 for y. Let's do that. 0 less than -0 is 0 plus a, and here we have 0 greater than 0 plus b. This simplifies to 0 less than a, and this simplifies to 0 greater than b. What does this tell us? Well, this tells us that A is a positive number and B is a negative number. In fact, we could write it down in this way. 0 in the middle. B is less than 0, so B is here. A is greater than 0, so A is here. So you see, A must always be greater than B because A is some positive number and B is some negative number. And any positive is greater than any negative. So A is always larger than B, greater than B. So the answer is option A. You can see why B is wrong. It says that B is greater than A, which is not true. What about this? A is the negative of B. It doesn't have to be. I mean, if B is -3 and A is 3, then yes, it could be. But what if A is something else, like 5? Then it won't be the negative of B. A doesn't have to be the negative of B. It could be, but we're looking for something that is guaranteed to be true, and this is not guaranteed to be true. And then this option C says that the absolute value of A greater than the absolute value of B. Not necessarily true. B could have a greater absolute value. B could be -10 and A could be 2, in which case B would have a greater absolute value. So it's not necessarily true. C doesn't have to be true. It might be true, it might not be true. But this is guaranteed to be true, so this is our answer. And the keyword is must be true. Moving on to question 19. A food truck sells salads for $6.50 each and drinks for $2 each. The food truck's revenue from selling a total of 209 salads and drinks in one day was this much. How many salads were sold that day? Now you can use S for salad and D for drinks. That's fine. Let's use X and Y. Let's use X for the salads and Y for the drinks. Okay, and if you sell a total of 209, that means X plus Y equals 209. This is going to be a system of equations kind of problem. Furthermore, $6.50 for a salad, so $6.50 for a salad, and $2 for a drink plus 2Y will bring in $8.36.50, 836.5. Okay, system of equations. We're trying to solve for how many salads, so we're trying to solve for X. So the good thing is we can eliminate the Y's pretty quickly. Let's multiply everything here by -2 and multiply this number by, if I can fit it here, -2. So -2 there, okay. So now this becomes minus 2x and minus 2y equals, you can use a calculator, this comes out to -418. Okay, and now we can tally up the columns. 6.5 minus 2 is 4.5x. This is gone. And then this, you can use a calculator, always use a calculator. So let's get that going. Right there, we have 836.5 minus 418 is 418.5. 418.5. And you divide by 4.5 now to solve for x. Divide by 4.5 on both sides of the equation. X is equal to, and this is still there, you divide that by 4.5. You get an answer of 93. So X is 93. How many salads were sold? X is our salads. We have 93 salads, so the answer is B. Moving on to number 20. Alma bought a laptop computer at a store that gave a 20% discount off its original price. The total amount she paid to the cashier was P dollars, including an 8% sales tax on the discounted price. Which of the following represents the original price of the computer in terms of P? So we want the original price of the computer, and all we're told is what she paid, the total at the register. Okay, we're going to let the original price of the computer be X. And then we're going to solve for X, and that's going to be our answer. Now, the store gave her a 20% discount. So 20% discount, so 1 minus a 20% discount, would still leave you with 80%. Let me write down the entire 1 minus 20. 1 minus 20%. So far, her item has been discounted by 20%. After that, she pays an 8% tax. So she has to take that and multiply all that by 1 plus 8% to pay an 8% tax. And this is what she ends up paying. And this is, well, she ends up paying P, doesn't she? So let's put that equal to P. All right, let's simplify a little bit. X, this is 0.8. This is 1.08 equals P. Since we're solving for X, we shall divide by everything next to X, which means we're going to divide by 0.8 times 1.08 and do the same thing here. 0.8 times 1.08. These are canceled. You're going to be left with x. And x equals, oops, let's move this a little bit. X equals all this, really. This entire fraction. P over the product of those two numbers, which ends up being option D. P over the product of those two numbers. Moving on to question 21. The data in the table above were produced by a sleep researcher studying the number of dreams people recall when asked to record their dreams for 1 week. Group X consisted of 100 people, you can see that, who observed early bedtimes. Group Y consisted of 100 people who observed later bedtimes. 100 in this group, 100 in that group, 100 per group. If a person is chosen at random from those who recalled at least one dream, what is the probability that that person belonged to group Y? Okay, we need to figure out those who recalled at least one dream. How many people recalled at least one dream? Well, let's see. This is no dream, so we're not looking at this. Forget that column. At least one dream means these people, these as well, these as well, these. This is 1 to 4, this is 5 or more. All that counts as at least one or more. So we need all these folks. But we don't have to add up that way because this 39 is already the sum of these two, and this 1 to 5 is the sum of those two. So the total number of people you have who recalled at least one dream is really 39 plus 125. Okay, what's the probability that the person belonged to group Y? Well, of those people, only these people belonged to group Y. So we have 11 plus 68. Now, I recommend using the calculator whenever possible. So let's go ahead and put that in the calculator. Create a fraction. 11 plus 68 over 39 plus 125. You get an answer of 79 over 164. Okay, equals 79 over 164, which is answer C. So that's the answer. Questions 22 and 30 refer to this table. Okay. Which of the following best approximates the average rate of change in the annual budget for agricultural natural resources in Kansas from 2008 to 2010? 2008 to 2010, agriculture / natural resources, that's this only. So we're going to be looking at this number here and this number here. Average rate of change. Well, so average rate of change means we subtract and we divide by the time it took. So let's look at that real quick. Average rate of change. Average rate of change would be 488,106 minus 358,708. 358,708. And the time, well, that's 2 years, but I'll show you 2010 minus 2008. So it ends up being a 2-year time frame. Of course, let's just grab the calculator. And let's go ahead and do 488,106 minus 358,708 divided by, you can just type in 2. 64,699. 64,699. Best approximates, so that is roughly speaking about $65,000. So the answer is B. The rest are too far away. Question 23, of the following, which program's ratio of its 2007 budget to 2010 budget is closest to the human resources program's ratio of 27 to 2010? Well, let's figure out the human resources numbers. That's 4 million to 5.9 million. Okay. Okay, so let's grab the calculator for this. Human resources ratio of 2007. So we're going to do 4,405,1,050 divided by 59,21,379. And we get 0.68. But that's the human resources. Now let's check agriculture, education, and so on. Agriculture is this first row. So we're going to check 373,904 divided by 488,106.766. Okay. Education comes next. 21,64,607 divided by 3,008,036. 0.7196, closer than agriculture, so A is not the answer. Let's look at the next one, highways and transportation. 146,8482 divided by 177,3893. 0.8278, even further from 0.68. And let's finally let's look at public safety. We're trying to find the one that's the closest. 263,463 divided by 464,233. That is 0.56. So we have a couple of contestants for the closest. We know it's not the large ones, the 766, the 827, and even this 719 is, 68 is close. 68 was our original, and let's see the closest, the two that are closest, 56 and 71. Okay, but based on that, we're looking for 0.68. That's the human resources. That's the 0.68, and what we can choose is either the 0.719 or the 0.56 and so on. 5675. So 0.56, that one. And the other one was 0.7196. 0.71. Okay. Now the closest one is 71. 71% is closer. That's not percent, I'm sorry. But 71 is closer to 68 than 56 is closer to, as close to 68. 71 is even closer. These two are closer to each other than these two are. So the answer is whatever gave us the 0.71. So let's look at that. That is this 2164607 number, which happens to be that one. And so the answer is education. Moving on to 24, which of the following is an equation of a circle in the xy plane with center 0, 4 and radius with that particular endpoint called 4/3, 5. Okay. If you know the center and the radius, then we need the radius. This is not the radius. This is just the endpoint of the radius. So we have a circle, we have a center, and we have a radius endpoint. But the actual radius would be the distance between those two. So let's use the distance formula. So the distance formula says the distance is the square root of the difference in the x-coordinates and the difference in the y-coordinates. The x-coordinates is 4/3 and 0. I'll just put it in, 4/3 minus 0. And the other one is 5 minus 4. 5 minus 4. And you end up with 4/3 squared, which is 16/9. And this is 1. But you know what? Let's call 1 9/9 because I need a common denominator. So 9/9. So you end up with 25 over 9. And we don't have to go any further because we need 25 over 9 on the far right, and I'll show you why. Because when you square root this, you get 5/3. But this is the radius of the circle, and our equation of a circle is x minus h squared. Let me write that a little lower. x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals radius squared. So we still need the radius squared. We need to square the 5/3, but we already had that. It's 25/9. 25/9. So we need 25/9 on the far right. We need one of these. So these two are out. Okay. And then based on that, all we do is plug in the center that we have. So let's keep going. It's x minus, the center is 0, so 0, 0, 4. So this other number is 4. K is 4, and h is 0. And r squared we calculated was 25/9. So you have option A as the answer. This x minus 0 squared is simply x squared, and everything else is the same. So this is answer A. Well, we knew it was going to be y minus 4 because of this 4. So we already knew that that y plus 4 was not it. We just needed the 25/9 on the far right. The answer is A. Moving on to number 25, the equation above expresses the approximate height h in meters of a ball t seconds after it is launched vertically upward from the ground with an initial velocity of 25 meters per second. After approximately how many seconds will the ball hit the ground? Okay, in order to hit the ground, the height has to be 0. So let's put in 0 for h, for the height. So you have 0 equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 25 t. They both have t, so let's factor the t out. Then you get negative 4.9 t plus 25. So there are two solutions. T is 0. It just means that the initial height, when t is 0, the height is 0. The ball is launched from the ground, vertically upwards from the ground. So you would get one solution where you have the initial time when the ball's on the ground, but the ball's on the ground at a later time as well. When it returns back to the ground, will the ball hit the ground? So we need the second instance of the ball being at height 0, and that's going to come from here. So negative 4.9 t plus 25 equals 0. Subtract 25, you get negative 4.9 t equals negative 25. And then now, all we have to do is divide both sides by negative 4.9. Divide this side by negative 4.9, and divide this side by negative 4.9. Let's grab the calculator. We have negative 25 divided by negative 4.9. You could also do it without the two negative signs. You get 5.102. So the answer is approximately 5 seconds, given what's on offer. So the answer is D. Moving on to 26. Katerina is a botanist studying the production of pears by two types of pear trees. She noticed that type A trees produced 20% more pears than type B trees did. Based on Katerina's observation, if the type A trees produced 144 pears, how many pears did the type B trees produce? So type A is 20% more than B. So 144 is 20% more than some other number. 20% more means 1.2. So now you divide by 1.2 on both sides, and you would get 144 divided by 1.2, 120. So x is going to be 120, and that is our answer, which is option B. Moving on to 27. A square field measures 10 meters by 10 meters. 10 students each mark off a randomly selected region of the field. Each region is square and has side lengths of 1 meter, and no two regions overlap. Okay, the students count the earthworms contained in the soil to a depth of 5 centimeters beneath the ground surface in each region. The results are shown in the table below. We have 10 students, A through J. And basically this is a field that's 10 meters by 10 meters. So if you look at the entire field, it's 10 meters by 10 meters. So there's 100 square meters in here. And if you break it up, you can break it up into little pieces, you know, where, and so on. Each block there is 1 meter by 1 meter. And there's 100 of these. And so the 10 students just pick out 10 different spots. They're all spread out, but, you know, they're only using a small portion of the entire field. Okay. And then, which of the following is a reasonable approximation of the number of earthworms to a depth of 5 centimeters beneath the ground surface in the entire field? Okay, in the entire field. So let's add up all these numbers. That tells you how many earthworms in total we have. So let's do that real quick. 107 plus 147 plus 146 plus 135 plus 159, 141, 150, 154, 176, 166. Okay, 1471. That's what the students found. But you know, the students are only taking up, each student is taking up 1 square meter of land. As we saw, this is a 10 meter by 10 meter, broken up into little chunks of 1 meter by 1 meter all over the place. And so the total area occupied by these 10 students is only 10 square meters. And they already found 1471 in that. But the entire field is actually 100 square meters. It's 10 times the size. So we need to take this and multiply by 10. And you get about 15,000, because this by now it's close to 1,500. Let me move this a little bit lower. Okay, but at the moment the students found about 1,500. They found about 1,500 worms multiplied by 10, because they're only taking up 1/10 of the total area. So 15,000. So the answer is C, 15,000. Moving on to number 28. If the system of inequalities y greater than or equal to 2x plus 1 and y greater than half x minus 1 is graphed in the xy plane above, which quadrant contains no solutions to the system? Okay, we could graph this by hand, because plus 1 will be here. Slope of 2, so this line will go up 2 and right 1. It looks like this and like this. That's this particular one, and we're going to shade above. So let me shade that above. Okay. The other line, the other inequality is y greater than half x minus 1. So we're going to start with minus 1, which is here, and go slope half, which is up 1, right 2. So it kind of looks like this. They do want a dashed line. Okay, dashed line, because this is greater than, not greater than, or equal to. So dashed line for this one. And this one will also shade above as well. So this one will do above. Let me just shade above this dotted line, dashed line. Okay. So we have this. Contains no solutions to the system. So what is a solution? A solution is a place where I shaded double. I shaded both green and red. And the green and red double shading, you see, it does visit quadrant 1 right there. It visits quadrant 2. It visits quadrant 3. But within quadrant 4 itself, there is no double shading happening. So quadrant 4 is the only quadrant that will not contain the double shading. So the answer is C, because we're looking for a place with no solutions, and the answer is C, quadrant 4. Moving on to 29, for a polynomial p of x, the value of p of 3 is negative 2. Which of the following must be true about p of x? Okay, so this is the remainder theorem. It says if you evaluate p of if P of 3 is negative 2, then P of x divided by x minus the 3, x minus that number, will have a remainder of P of 3. We'll have a remainder of negative 2. If you divide, you'll have a remainder of negative 2. The remainder when P of x is divided by x minus 3 is negative 2. So the answer is D. This is from the remainder theorem. Question 30. Which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation of the graph shown in the xy plane above, from which the coordinates of vertex A can be identified as constants in the equation? They're looking for a form where you can readily see the vertex. Okay, that's vertex form. So what is vertex form? Vertex form is y equals some constant x minus h squared plus k, where the vertex is hk. Okay, so this is not vertex form, that's not vertex form, that's not vertex form. Option D is vertex form. This matches option D. So the answer is D. Furthermore, if you look at option D, it's written as y equals x minus 1 squared minus 16, which tells us the vertex has to be from here 1. It's always after the minus sign, 1, and negative 16. 1, negative 16. Where's that on the graph? That's right there. So it matches. And you can read the vertex right off the equation, and this is the only equation presented in vertex form. So the answer is D. Moving on to 31. Wyatt can husk at least 12 dozen ears of corn per hour, and at most 18 dozen ears of corn per hour. Based on this information, what is a possible amount of time in hours that it could take Wyatt to husk 72 dozen ears of corn? Okay, so he can do between 12 to 18 per hour, depending on how fast or how slow he works. If he works at his slowest possible rate, he's going to do 12 in 1 hour. If he works at his fastest possible rate, he'll do 18 in 1 hour. And what are those numbers? So 72 divided by 12 and 72 divided by 18. 6 and 4. So 6 and 4. If he works at his slowest possible rate, it will take him 6 hours. If he works as fast as possible, it will take him 4 hours. So it will take him anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. They say they're asking for what is a possible amount of time in hours. So we can do, our answer that we can fill in could be either 4 or 5 or 6. Since we want to stick with whole numbers in hours, let's stick with whole numbers. So any of these are correct. You can just pick your favorite. They're all correct. Moving on to 32. The posted weight limit for a covered wooden bridge in Pennsylvania is 6,000 pounds. A delivery truck that is carrying X identical boxes, each weighing 14 pounds, will pass over this bridge. If the combined weight of the empty delivery truck and its driver is already 4,500 pounds, what's the maximum possible value for X that will keep the combined weight of the truck, driver, and boxes below the bridge's posted weight limit of 6,000 pounds? Okay. The truck plus driver is already 4,500 pounds. And then after that, he's got X identical boxes, each weighing 14 pounds. So that's another 14 times X. And he wants to stay below the 6,000. So we subtract 4,500 from both sides. Subtract 4,500. Subtract 4,500. You get 14x less than. Always use a calculator. 6,000 minus 4,500. It's 1,500. Divide by 14. Divide by 14. X is less than. So from here, we divide that by 14. 107.1. 107.1. Okay. Maximum possible value for X. So he can do 107. So 107 is the max. The answer is 107. Moving on to number 33. Number of portable meter players sold worldwide each year from 2006 to 2011. According to the line graph above, the number of portable meter players sold in 2008 is what fraction of the number sold in 2011? Okay. In 2008, they sold 100 or 100 million. Okay, but we don't need the million because we're doing a fraction. 100 million. And in 2011, it was 160 million. So 100 over 160. Always use the calculator to reduce fractions. So we do 100 over 160. And we get an answer of 5/8. So that's the answer. 5/8. Okay. Moving on to 34. A local television station sells time slots for programs in 30-minute intervals. If the station operates 24 hours per day, every day of the week, what is the total number of 30-minute time slots the station can sell for Tuesday and Wednesday? That's for 2 days. Okay, so we have 2 days. We have 24 hours in 1 day. So by now, we're up to 48 hours, 2 times 24. But I need to know how many time slots I have. So you could just times 2. If you notice that there are 2 30-minute time slots per hour. But let me put that in. 1 hour. 2 slots in 1 hour. And that's why you end up with 2 times 24 times 2. So let's do that. 2 times 24 times 2. 96. So the answer is 96. Moving on to 35. A dairy farmer uses a storage silo that is in the shape of the right circular cylinder above. If the volume of the silo is 72 pi cubic yards, what is the diameter of the base of the cylinder in yards? So diameter. Okay. We have the formula for volume of a cylinder taken from the formulas provided at the front of the test packet. Volume is pi r squared height. So volume is pi r squared height. And they told us the volume for this is 72 pi. We're trying to solve for diameter. So let's keep going. Let's divide this by pi. And divide that by pi. You wind up with r squared height is 72. Now, the height itself is 8. So you have r squared times 8 is 72. Because the height is 8. Okay. From here we divide by 8. And you get r squared equals 72 divided by 8 is 9. Now, let me write that over here. R squared equals 9. To solve for r, you would square root both sides. R equals, always use the calculator. There's no advantage to doing it without a calculator, so square root 9, that is 3. So r is 3. That is the radius. The question's not over. The question's asking us for the diameter. And diameter is 2 times the radius. So diameter is 2 times the radius, which is 2 times 3, which is 6 yards. So the answer is 6. Moving on to number 36. For what value of x is the function h above undefined? 1 over all that. Now, to get h of x to go undefined, we would like the denominator to go to 0. So the denominator should go to 0 for the entire function to be undefined. And so we end up with this. We end up with x minus 5 squared plus 4 times x minus 5 plus 4. Instead of opening all this up and solving for x, equals 0, and solving for x, we notice that there's an x minus 5 and an x minus 5. We can make a substitution. So we shall let some new variable be x minus 5. This helps us to solve it even quicker. So you end up with a squared, remember x minus 5 is now replaced by a, plus 4a plus 4 equals 0. When you factor this, you get a plus 2 equals 0. Or you could have written it as a plus 2 squared equals 0. But we'll proceed from here. When you solve this, you get a plus 2 equals 0, and so a equals negative 2. You get the same solution from here. So a equals negative 2, but that's not the final answer. We want to know the value of x. Well, what did a stand for? A stood for x minus 5. So let's substitute this back in here, and we can solve for x. So negative 2 equals x minus 5. We add 5 to both sides. And final answer is x equals 3. So the answer is 3. Moving on to number 37. Jessica opened a bank account that earns 2% interest compounded annually. Her initial deposit was $100, and she uses the expression $100 times x to the power of t to find the value of the account after t years. What's the value of x in the expression? Okay, so 2% compounded annually will look like our expression is the amount at any time is the principal times 1 plus the rate over the number of compoundings to the power of nt. This is very useful if you're compounding not annually but some different rate. Maybe twice a year, maybe every month, whatever the case may be. So we have the amount would be, she's got $100 to start out, $100. 1 plus, her rate is 2%. Now, let's use the calculator to do 2 divided by 100. You get 0.02. So this is 0.02. N is the number of compoundings that take place during 1 year. When you're compounding annually, that's once per year. So N is going to be 1. And N is 1, and then you have T. This is why you end up with 100 and a T on the outside. And all I have to do is figure out what this is. If you put this in a calculator, you get 1 plus 0.02 divided by 1. It's 1.02. So 1.02. And that's the value for x. So final answer 1.02. Moving on to number 38. Same information. Jessica's friend Tyshawn found an account that earns 2.5% interest compounded annually. Tyshawn made an initial deposit of $100 into this account at the same time that Jessica made the deposit of $100 into her account. After 10 years, how much more money will Tyshawn's initial deposit have earned than Jessica's initial deposit? Round your answer to the nearest cent and ignore the dollar sign when gridding your response. Okay, we have to calculate two different amounts and figure out the difference between them. So Tyshawn's account is going at 2.5%. That would be $100 2.5%. 1 plus, once again, use a calculator and you get 0.025. He does it for 10 years and you would get, let's go ahead and put all this in the calculator. 100, 1 plus 0.025, that's 2.5% to the power of 10. 128.00845 and so on. I'm going to leave that up there for a second. Let's just write the other one down. Jessica would be $100. 1 plus 0.02 to the power of 10. Okay. So we'll do 100. 1 plus 0.02 to the power of 10. And that's Jessica's amount. We have to subtract them. So a faster way to subtract them than to write everything down is to just grab this amount, enter, minus this amount, enter, and this is the difference, 6.1090, etc., etc. And we were never really interested in what this number was or what this number was. We only cared about the difference, which we've already calculated. So the difference was, again, it was $6.11. We will round to the nearest cent. So it's $6.11 with no dollar sign. So the answer is 6.11. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to support the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.